Book 8. Number 1. Reflecting on the past removes the desire for empty fame. It is no longer in your power to have lived your whole life, or even part of it, like a philosopher, and it is plain to both you and others how far you are from the practice of philosophy. Not only have you fallen into disorder and thus cannot be regarded as a philosopher, but your life plan further opposes it. Now that you've seen the truth, dispel the desire for philosophical fame and concern with how you are perceived by others. Be content with your life as nature has determined. Observe the alchemy of nature, follow its course, and let nothing distract you. You have experienced many adventures without having found happiness anywhere, not in syllogisms, wealth, reputation, enjoyment, or any place. Where is it then? In doing what your nature requires. How then shall I do this? The principles underpinning a person's character determine their perceptions and conduct. What principles? Those which relate to what is good and what is wrong. Any principle that fosters the development of a more just, temperate, brave, and free individual is truly good. Conversely, that which does not result in the demonstration of these virtues can truly be considered wrong. 2. For every action, ask yourself, does it align with the principles I want to uphold, or will it cause me regret? In a short time, I will be dead, and all is gone. What more do I seek? Is what I'm doing now the work of an intelligent being under the law established by the gods? 3. How did Alexander, Caius, and Pompeius compare with the philosophers Diogenes, Heraclitus, and Socrates? For they were all acquainted with things and their causes and matter. They were guided by rational principles. But, for the heroes, how many obligations and desires encumbered them and thus made them slaves? 4. People will conduct themselves in their usual ways, regardless of your reaction to them. 5. This is the primary principle. Be not perturbed, for all things flow according to the universal nature and in short order. You will be nobody and nowhere, like Hadrian and Augustus. 2nd, be steadfast in your focus on that which is your duty, remembering that you are obligated to be a good man according to what nature has determined, without deviating from it, being benevolent, honest, and speaking that which is most according to justice and without hypocrisy. 6. The nature of the universe is designed to remove, change, and carry away all things. As all things must undergo change, we must not fear it, for the essence and distribution of all things remain the same. 7. Every nature is content when it acts according to its purpose. Being content as a rational being requires not accepting what is false, acting in a socially productive manner, limiting desires and aversions that are within your control, and finding satisfaction with everything that happens to you as assigned by nature. A leaf will act in accordance with the nature of a plant that does not have perception, nor reason, and is subject to be impeded, whereas human nature is part of a larger, intelligent, just, universal nature that is not easily obstructed. This universal nature distributes everything fairly, according to their worth, time, substance, form, activity, and circumstance. When examining things, do not look at one element in isolation, but rather compare them holistically to truly discern their differences. 8. Even if you don't have leisure time to read, you have the time and the capacity to check your arrogance, to conduct yourself beyond what simply feels good, to transcend the love of fame, not to be vexed at stupid and ungrateful people, not even to care for them. 9. Let no one any longer hear you finding fault with your life or life at court. 10. Repentance can be understood as a kind of self-reproach for failing to do what is good, and by virtue of being good is useful as well. The good person will strive to do good and will never repent avoiding sensual pleasure, as pleasure is neither good nor useful. 11. What is this thing in its essence? What is it made of? What is its purpose or nature? What is it doing in the world? And how long does it last? 12. When you wake up reluctantly, remember it's according to your nature as an individual and a human being to be socially productive. But isn't sleeping also common to irrational animals? Actions that align to your individual nature are inherently more suited to you and thus more enjoyable. 13. Constantly impress on the soul the principles of physics, ethics, and dialectics to everything you perceive. 14. Whomever you meet, immediately ask yourself, what opinions has this person about what is good and bad, pleasure, pain, and the causes of each, fame and ignominy, death and life? For you will not find their behavior strange once you understand the beliefs that underpin them. Bear in mind, this person is compelled to behave according to their beliefs. 15. If you are not surprised when the fig tree produces figs, then do not be surprised when the world produces events and situations that are natural for it. Similarly, the doctor should not be surprised if a patient gets a fever any more than a helmsman would be surprised when the winds are unfavorable. 16. Remember, to change your opinion and follow the person who corrects you in your error is as consistent with freedom as it is persistent in your error. For in both instances, your actions are guided by your decisions, and understanding are truly yours. 17. If something is in your power, why don't you do it? But if that same thing is in someone else's power, who do you blame? Chance? The gods? Both are foolish, as you must not blame anyone, for you must correct that which is the cause of the error. If you can't do this, correct the mistake itself. If you can't do this, of what use is it you to find fault? For nothing should be done without a purpose. 18. That which dies does not leave the universe. If it stays here, it also changes here, and is dissolved into its constituent parts, which are elements of the universe and of yourself. And these also change without complaint. 19. Everything exists for some end, a horse, a vine. Why do you wonder? Even the sun will say, I am for some purpose, and the rest of the gods will say the same. For what purpose then are you? To enjoy pleasure? See if common sense allows this. 20. Nature considers the end, beginning, and middle of everything, just like someone throwing a ball. What does it matter if the ball goes up, comes down, or lands? It's the same with the bubble. What difference does it make if it stays intact or bursts? The same could be said for light. 21. See what kind of thing the body is when it has grown old and when it's diseased. Short-lived are the person who praises and the person who being praised, the person who remembers and the person being remembered. And all this happens here, in a small nook of the world, and even here people do not agree with anyone, let alone themselves. The whole earth, too, is just a point. 22. Attend to the matter which is before you, whether it's an opinion, act, or word. Suffer this because you prefer to become good tomorrow rather than be good today. 23. Am I doing anything? I do it with reference to the good of mankind. Does anything happen to me? I receive and refer it to the gods and the source of all things, from which all that happens is derived. 24. As bathing appears to you, oil, sweat, dirt, filthy water, all things disgusting, so is every part of life and everything. 25. Lucilla saw Verus die, and then Lucilla died. Secundus saw Maximus die, and then Secunda died. Such is everything. Celer saw Hadrian died, and then Celer died. And those sharp-witted people, either seers or inflated with pride, where are they? All ephemeral and dead long ago. Some indeed have not been remembered even for a short time, and others have become the heroes of fables, and again others have disappeared even from the fables. Remember that you must either be dissolved, or your breath extinguished, or removed and placed elsewhere. 26. It is satisfying for a man to do the proper work of a man. It is a proper work of a man to be benevolent to his own kind, to despise the movement of the senses, to form a just judgment of plausible appearances, and to take a survey of the nature of the universe and the things that happen within it. 27. You have 3 connections, one with your own body, one with the divine source of everything, and one with the people who live with you. 28. If pain affects the body, then let the body say what it thinks of it. If pain affects the soul, remember that the soul has the power to maintain its own serenity and tranquility by not forming the perception that pain is an evil. For all thoughts, actions, desires, and aversions come from within, and no evil ascends so high. 29. Clear your mind of concerns by reminding yourself, I have the power to keep badness from my soul, and my soul free from disturbance. See things for their true nature and use them appropriately. Remember, this power comes from your nature. 30. Speak both in the Senate and to everyone, whomever they may be, appropriately, without affectation. Use plain language. 31. Augustus's court, wife, daughter, descendants, ancestors, sister, Agrippa, kinsmen, inmates, friends, Arius, Massenius, doctors, and sacrificing priests. The whole court is dead. Then turn to the rest, not considering the death of a single person, but of a whole city such as Pompeii. Consider what trouble those before them had choosing a successor, and then that of necessity someone must be the last. Again, here consider the death of a whole race. 32. Your duty is to live well with every act you take, for no one can stop you. If each act is done with this intention, be content. But even if something external should stand in your way, nothing will stand in the way of acting justly, with discernment and consideration. Perhaps some other active power will hinder you. Then acquiescence to the hindrance and redirect your focus to that which is in your control. For another opportunity for action will immediately be put before you in the place of that which has been impeded and can be adapted to living well. 33. Receive wealth or prosperity without arrogance, and be ready to let it go. 34. If you've ever seen a hand, foot, or head separated from the body, that's what happens to a person when they're dissatisfied with what happens and separate themselves from others, or act in a socially destructive manner. If you found yourself detached from the unity of all things, according to the alchemy of nature, as you were made to be part of the whole, you have the power to reconnect. The gods have endowed to people, and no other part of nature, this unique ability to reconnect and become part of the universe again. 35. As the nature of the universe has given to every rational being all the other powers they have, so we have received from it this power also. For as the nature of the universe changes and fixes its predestined place everything which stands in its way, subsuming such things into itself, so too can rational beings accept every hindrance and use it for their purposes. 36. Do not disturb yourself by thinking about everything you've experienced. Do not let your thoughts embrace all the various troubles which may be expected to befall you. Ask yourself, what part of this is truly bearable? You'll be ashamed to confess, for it is not as overwhelming as you think. Remember, it's not the future or the past that causes you pain, only the present moment. And this can be reduced if you discipline your mind and remind it to stay strong. 37. Does Panthea or Pergamus now sit by the tomb of Verus? Does Charis or Diotimus sit by the tomb of Hadrian? That would be ridiculous. Well, suppose they did sit there. Would the dead be conscious of it? And if the dead were conscious, would they be pleased? And if they were pleased, would that make them immortal? Was it not in the order of destiny that these persons too should first become old women and men and then die? What then would those do after these people were dead? All this is foul smell and blood in a bag. 38. If you can see clearly, observe and make wise judgments, says the philosopher. 39. In the constitution of the rational being, I see no virtue which is opposed to justice, but I see virtue which is opposed to love of pleasure, and that is temperance. 40. If you reserve your opinion about that which appears to give you pain, you will stand in perfect security. Who is this self? It is your reasoning faculty. Do not let your reasoning faculty trouble itself. Should any other part of you suffer, let it have its own view on the matter. 41. Obstacles to the senses, movements, or desires are bad for animals. Similarly, anything that hinders plants is harmful to them. So, anything that hinders intelligence is bad for intelligent beings. Apply this to yourself. Does pain or pleasure affect you? Your senses will handle that. Has something blocked your efforts? If you are trying unconditionally without reservations, then this obstacle is an evil for you as a rational being. But if you consider the usual course of things, you haven't been harmed or even impeded. Nothing can hinder your understanding, neither fire, iron, tyrants, nor insults. When you understand the whole, it remains whole. 42. It is not appropriate that I should give myself pain, for I have never intentionally given pain to another. 43. Different things delight different people, but it is my delight to keep the ruling faculty sound without turning away either from anyone or from any of the things which happen to them, but looking at and receiving all with welcoming eyes, using everything according to its value. 44. Focus on making the most of the present moment for yourself. For those who'd rather pursue posthumous fame, do not recognize the people of the future will be exactly as those they cannot bear now, and both are mortal. Why should it matter to you what people in the future say or think about you? 45. Take me and cast me where you will, for there I will keep my divine part tranquil, content, if I can feel it knack comfortably to its proper constitution. Is this change of place sufficient reason why my soul should be unhappy and worse than it was before when it was depressed, expanded, shrinking, frightened? And what will you find in this suffering? And what will you find which is sufficient reason for this? 46. Nothing can happen to anyone that is not a normal human experience. Not to an ox what is not according to the nature of an ox, nor to a vine what is not according to the nature of a vine, or to a stone that is not proper to a stone. If what happens to each thing is both usual and natural, then why should you complain? For common nature does not bring anything which cannot be borne by you. 47. If you are bothered by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your judgment about it. And it is in your power to remove this judgment now. If anything in your own disposition gives you pain, who hinders you from correcting your opinion? Even if you are pained because you are not doing something which seems to be right, why don't you act rather than complain? If an insurmountable obstacle prevents you, do not be upset, for it is outside your control. If you think life is not worth living because of this, then leave it contentedly, as someone who is active and accepting of obstacles. 48. Remember, your mind is invincible when it is self-collected and at peace, provided you do not act contrary to it even from mere stubbornness. What then will it be when it forms a judgment about anything aided by deliberate reason? Therefore, the mind that is free from passions is a citadel, the safest place for a person to retreat to and remain unassailable. Those who do not realize this are ignorant, and anyone who knows it but does not seek this refuge is unhappy. 49. Say nothing more to yourself than what first appearances convey. Suppose it has been reported to you that a certain person speaks ill of you. This has been reported, but do not assume that you have been harmed. I see that my child is sick. Recognize this fact, but do not assume that they are in danger. Observe the facts, and do not add anything extra from your own mind, unless it is done like someone who knows everything that happens in the world. 50. If a cucumber is bitter, throw it away. If there are thorns on the road, avoid them. This is enough. Do not question why such things exist, for people who understand nature will ridicule you, just like a carpenter or a shoemaker would laugh if you complained about shavings and scraps in their workshop. They have places to dispose of those scraps, but nature has no external space for waste. Nature ingeniously recycles everything within itself, turning what seems old and useless into new things. It needs no outside resources and wastes nothing, perfectly content with its own space, matter, and art. 51. Do not be sluggish in your actions, disorganized in your conversations, or scattered in your thoughts. Avoid inner conflict and outward chaos, and do not be so busy that you have no time to relax. Suppose that men kill you, cut you into pieces, and curse you. What then can these things do to prevent your mind from remaining pure, wise, sober, and just? For instance, if someone should stand by a spring and curse it, the spring will not cease sending up potable water. And if that same person cast clay or filth into it, the spring would speedily disperse and wash them out and remain clean. How then shall you possess a fountain of perpetual purity and not a mere well? Through the persistent practice of freedom conjoined with contentment, simplicity, and modesty. 52. He who does not know what the world is, does not know where he is. And he who does not know for what purpose the world exists, does not know who he is, nor what the world is. But he who has failed in any one of these things could not even say for what purpose he exists himself. What then do you think of him who avoids and seeks the praise of those who applaud, of men who know not either where they are or who they are? 53. Do you wish to be praised by someone who curses themselves thrice every hour? Would you wish to seek the approval of someone who does not approve of themselves? Does someone please themselves who repents nearly everything they do? 54. Do not just breathe in the air that surrounds you, but let your mind be in harmony with the intelligence of the universe which embraces all things. For this cosmic power pervades all things and is available to anyone who wants to access it. 55. Generally, wickedness does no harm at all to the universe, and particularly, the wickedness of one person does no harm to another. It is only harmful to those who have it in their power to be released from it, but choose not to. 56. My neighbor's free will is as irrelevant to me as their body. Even though we are made to help each other, the ruling power of each of us has its own office. If my neighbor's bad behavior could harm me, it would make my happiness dependent on him, which the gods did not intend. 57. The sun's light spreads out in all directions, but doesn't spill over. This spreading is called extension. You can see what a sun ray is like by looking at sunlight through a small opening in a dark room. The light extends in a straight line and stops when it hits a solid object, but it does not glide or fall off. Your understanding should spread out in the same way, not spilling over, but extending. It should not clash violently with obstacles, but stay fixed and enlighten what it touches. For a body will deprive itself of illumination if it does not admit it. 58. He who fears death either fears the loss of sensation or a different kind of sensation. But if you should have no sensation, neither should you feel any harm. And if you should acquire another kind of sensation, you will be a different being and continue to live in another way. 59. People exist for the sake of one another. Teach them or bear with them. 60. In one way, an arrow moves. In another way, the mind. However, they are similar where the mind, even when being cautious or investigating something, still moves straight towards its goal. 61. Enter into everyone's ruling faculty by way of reason, and also let others enter into your own.